charge as far as minutes.
Okay, so before the official meeting, Keith's gonna give us some recommendations.
Okay, Keith.
Okay, so since we have a new secretary, which is awesome, I'm glad you guys finally got that figured out. Did we figure out who was stepping down, or are you gonna discuss that today? You can't have 8, you can only have 7
Yeah. It's,
on there. So you will have to figure that out soon.
It is on the agenda item.
Okay.
Yep.
I kind of scanned it, but, and then just, you are an advisory board. Just to remind you, you can vote on things in between each other, but as far as policies or anything like that, it has to go to council, which would go through Chief Bondic. He is your liaison between this committee and the village governing body. Agendas, like we talked about the other day, at least the day before, the 72-hour time span. So if it's on a Monday or a Tuesday, well, they're usually on Tuesdays, right?
Yeah.
So if it's on Tuesday, I need it by Thursday.
okay.
The following Thursday. So if you want to do them earlier at 10 a.m., I need to have it like the Wednesday prior to, so I can post
Okay,
it
so
by
keep
10
it
a.m.
simple. We'll get it to you by close of business on Wednesday. We have a Tuesday meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we discussed, what was your name again?
Martha.
Martha, sorry. Minutes, everything's being recorded right now, so you can go onto YouTube and it's easier to write those down that way.
Sure is.
I am planning on creating some kind of packet for all of the committees, just kind of a how-to guide on how to make certain proper motions and things like that. Eventually, you'll probably all get copies of either Robert's Rules of Order or the parliamentary procedures at a glance, just to kind of go over by yourselves. And that way you can kind of follow the proper, and I'll probably send this through email too, but proper formatting for doing an agenda and writing the minutes so that they're all
Before
kind of
that,
cohesive.
would
and
you be
looking
able
the
to
same.
attend this meeting so that if something like that comes up in this meeting, we're doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna be here for it.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know this right now before you get started.
Right here.
Well, I we're going to discuss.
Can you think of anything else, Megan?
I'm fine.
Or can you think of anything else?
No.
No? Okay, that's all I have. But as we go forward, I'll kind of get in touch with you guys.
Tell me about the minutes again. We briefly talked about that. So using this
yes.
meeting as an example.
Yes.
We had minutes for the July 5th meeting.
Mhm.
And they're in draft form until we voted them in this meeting. But do you want to see them even before this meeting?
They need to be
provide
turned
input
into
or
me at least 10 days after the
He has to
meeting.
have them
Oh, good.
right
Yes.
after the meeting.
what? But then if they
I
get
have-
changed, we'll certainly update it and send you the revised copy.
Why would it be
So,
changed?
this
Well,
is-
because we vote on it at this meeting, the July meeting.
No, but, I do the minutes right after the meeting so
Okay.
that I
I don't
don't
mind.
forget, so that I get it as accurately as possible. So it'd be easy for me to get it to him. Easy. I have them done.
And they
Easy
wouldn't go
with
to
me.
you, they would go to Keith.
They
And
send them,
then at the next meeting, they would also, that's when you guys would vote on it.
so they get sent to me at least 10 days after the
It's
meeting.
easy for me to do.
They're approved as draft minutes, and then I send that along with the agenda, the approved agenda, to all the committee members. That way they're not reading it the day of, they can properly vote on it. If they do want to change something,
Okay.
that's why there's still
Send it
draft
out, or
minutes.
Would Martha send those out?
I can send them out, yes.
Okay,
And so
so
I'll get, it's easy for me to get.
10 days, that's easy, as long as we know to do
I
it.
had them.
And then in our agenda for this meeting, it'll say approval of draft minutes that have already been submitted. And,
Going forward, we'll need to
That's
do
always,
that.
that's
and if
the way it
that's
is.
changed, then it'll just be.
It's always draft
All
minutes, and
committees,
once
the
they're,
council, it's always.
once they're approved at the meeting, then they're final.
That's good.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks so much, Keith. Really appreciate it.
Keith, I think Don had a question.
The list of members, the computer needs to be upgraded to show the current.
Okay.
When you get a chance, I guess that would be you that,
I would either say myself or Martha can handle that as secretary, updating everybody who's, once you guys finalize the committee members of having 7 of them.
you can
But
upgrade.
you put it on the computer, not on.
Well, there's a spreadsheet. I can update everything, but there's like a spreadsheet that Mike said he needs.
So if you pull up the thing on the
On the website?
website.
Oh, yeah, that I
You
can
get the
update.
current,
I'm just saying if you all want, once this is over, if you send me an updated list of everybody and then I'll update it on the website.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, everybody has the official agenda. It's the short version. And so this is calling to order, meeting of the Angel Fire Adaptive Community Committee meeting officially beginning at 1:04 p.m. Roll call.
Pledge of allegiance.
Secretary, you do the roll call, right?
Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge of
President?
allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance.
Okay, President, sorry. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the roll call.
Okay, so I do roll call?
Yeah.
Keith Bobbitt,
Here.
Chris Romo,
He is absent.
Mike.
Here.
Martha, here, David,
Here.
Don,
your
Scott, Schaefer, no, Vicky,
Here,
and Mark.
Hi there.
Okay, Mark needs a copy of that and then the shortened version of the agenda. Yeah, another one.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
That's the official one. Okay. Approval of agenda. Does anybody have any changes or suggested additions to the agenda as presented? I do. I assume Chairman can make a motion. And that would be under new items to clarify member, I guess, meeting requirements going forward, regarding attendance in discussion as such. Okay, anyone want to add another item?
So I didn't understand, you're gonna make up your own rules about attendance instead of what
No,
the,
we're gonna make
our
a recommendation.
community-
I mean, it'll go to you. If you choose not to, use it, that's fine. I mean, I'll get into the discussion when we get to it, if that's okay. Everyone agreed?
I'll move for that.
Okay. We all vote yes?
What's the motion?
I make
The
a
motion-
motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, with the exception of a new item.
No, that's what I mean. What's the new item?
yeah, you have to name the new.
Okay, the new item would be to further clarify the membership requirements of membership requirements going forward. The discussion later would be that we require a quorum. We've been challenged because of lack of attendance. And there's a lot of work that goes into these meetings. And the attendee can call in by phone or certainly in person. But if we don't have enough people that care enough to come, then what's the point? That's my opinion.
Mhm.
You don't have to agree with me or not, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
So if we want to discuss it additionally and maybe put something in black and white, that would be a new business item. Okay, let's get into the approval of the minutes. Oh, we already did that. Okay, sorry. Committee membership. The item that was open here.
You need your
Wait.
motion.
Okay.
Yeah, we need approval of the
Agenda,
minutes. I
yeah.
make a motion
Oh,
that
okay,
we
got it.
approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, done.
Did we do that for the
Agenda,
Did Jim?
Yes, we did it for the agenda too.
Also,
did Mark, who did that?
I,
For the agenda?
Yeah.
You did?
We didn't do it. There was a single motion and then a second, but not a vote.
okay.
Okay, can we redo the agenda approval?
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the new business intact.
Okay.
I second.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, got that one. So, first item, committee membership, which is the way it exists today, was an open item. We have 7 members, and unfortunately, with Ray Hunning's been out of town, unable to attend. And we weren't sure if Ray, you're gonna be able to continue, so the item in the minutes was for Dave to contact you. Now we want to, do you want to continue?
Yeah, if you, the mayor asked me a couple years ago if I'd like to serve on this committee, because I have a lot of history here. I'm probably the only one in the room that's been here for every wildfire that we've had. And so I do, and I'm in construction, so I'm very familiar with, I was here when the SLASH program started. I'm very familiar with that. And I'm very passionate about what this committee is trying to accomplish. And being out of town is not the biggest problem, but the communication, and we've got that corrected. They had the wrong email address from you. That's why we get.
Oh, okay. That was our
That
mistake.
was, no, it was my fault too.
Well, I had the wrong phone number also, which Matt helped me find.
Oh, good. And so, but again, I think with the new fire chief, and we've got a new vision and a new committee going forward, I think good things can happen. But I was amazed last year during our wildfire, this committee, as far as I knew, never met. And last year should have been weekly meetings almost, but obviously the fire chief and all the fire department was very busy. But I'm more than happy to serve, and when I'm in Arizona, I can always call it.
Okay, so that would make us 8 members, because we weren't certain,
That's fine, if you,
If I can say something, so no matter if you're taking someone off or appointing someone, the mayor has final approval on both of those decisions. You said you can suggest those to her. And if you want to keep Ray on and have Martha still as your secretary, you can have 8 members, but she would not have a vote.
Is there a problem having 8 members and 5 required for quorum, as opposed to now 7 and 4? I mean, that's mayor's decision.
No, I think that's a good, if you want to be on, because this kind of happened without us knowing. What I heard last was Don was going to step down because he's never here. He doesn't live here. Ray does live here, but I guess that changed.
That's right. I said I would voluntarily, because I'm not gonna be here.
Right,
I'm having health problems,
right.
so I'll come in by phone. So I have attended all the meetings.
But it really could be better for you not to be on the,
Yes, I have no problem at stepping down if that's,
but that was what I heard last. Then all of a sudden, it was Ray. And then we find out Ray had never even been told about a meeting.
Yes. Well,
So that's, that's kind of hard if you don't get informed.
Sure.
So, but Dawn, you want to stay on the board?
I will stay, or I will go, whatever I would like to stay, but, I know that I'm gonna
Do they have to?
be out of town and
We would need to look at the requirements that we have written down.
In here, yeah. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter one way or another, as long as everybody does attend. And I think it's not just Ray that hasn't been attending. A lot of people have been gone.
Yeah.
And so I don't like the singling out somebody who actually, I think Ray is gonna be a great asset. And that's why I asked him to sit on in the beginning. Vicky, because she's been here so long, is a great asset. So, I mean, we could absolutely have an extra member if Chief was okay with that, but it would be an ex officio member. That means she would not vote, she would just be here to be the secretary. Since nobody else wanted to be secretary.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay
Being a
with that.
secretary, but let's do that.
And
Is
then
that-
Ray, are you okay with that? Would you be good?
Yes, I'm-
Because I know you still want to be on the committee once we talked and you hadn't
Yes.
been contacted.
You know, when I start, we're on our third chief since I volunteered, but since you asked me. And last year, there was a huge lapse. And so I never even checked the website to see because,
Yeah.
and I did speak with Dave last fall, or I can't remember, but we had a lengthy conversation. And we discussed different things, but I'm here till October and then I'll be in Arizona. But if I have a schedule in front of me, I'll attend.
And these meetings will clear up some of the issues that you have brought to council in the
Right,
first
good.
place. So it will also help you.
Right.
And then the overall goal of the committee is educate the public.
Yeah,
Is
very
educate the
good.
public
I
so that
agree.
you be educated, you can educate
Yeah.
other people.
It's very good.
Okay, so
So I can still speak though, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
When ex officio
Because I have
is,
strong passion for this.
and tell me what is your name again?
Martha Ashland, and we've had property here since '98.
And you're,
And so if I can
For-
speak, I
to
don't
have-
mind being ex officio. I
to
don't
have an
mind
ex
that.
officio, then the board would have to vote for that. It's not unlike different boards that we offer positions to other entities as ex officios. You have everything the same as a board member with the exclusion of a vote. Yes.
So I would,
Yes.
maybe this is
So
appropriate.
you would make a motion to accept accept
I'd like to
Martha
make a
as an
motion
ex
To
officio.
accept Martha as ex officio member and secretary.
Yes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good job.
We're getting trained.
I love it.
Robert's rules of
Thanks.
nowhere.
And now everybody has, I would also suggest before you get going with your agenda,
Okay, yeah, I will. I will.
please exchange, get a piece of paper and
I'll
write
do
your,
Oh, okay.
excuse me. Please get a piece of paper and write your contact numbers, your email, how you really can get a hold of each other. Because it is up to you, Mike, to make sure that every board member is contacted.
Okay. Yes, and as attached to the material I passed around on page 2 was the current list of names, emails, and phone numbers. If any of that needs to be changed,
Well, it obviously does, because you didn't have
Yes,
Ray. So
Ray
you didn't
was
have
wrong.
Yeah.
okay.
Ray, do you want to take your seat?
Sure.
So if anybody else has changes,
I don't mind sitting.
let us know.
But there's a seat up there if you want it.
Mark,
See?
Mark.
I'm fine.
Marcos.
Mark won't.
This is my regular
It's his spot.
seat.
Now, are you? is it
Next
ready?
agenda item, are we ready? Okay,
So everybody's gonna turn in updated
yes.
contact information, please.
So are we moving off of this
So I don't
topic?
have to change it.
It's right, let's move.
Okay, so just really quick, if we're going to be moving forward, just in terms of contacting, it sounds like Ray's had some issues. I definitely had. I kind of live in Outlook, and I'm more than happy if, to send that around. My issue is we've had some meetings, and I've only heard about them sort of day of. That makes it exceedingly difficult for me to kind of get there. I mean, the resort's committed to this committee. And I will do whatever, but I need a little bit of notice as to when
And I
these things are gonna happen.
apologize.
No problem.
I have a business in Central Time Zone.
Yeah.
My Outlook, if I were to send out a meeting notice, it would be 1 hour ahead.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna ask Martha as the secretary to do that official meeting Outlook request where you could, accept or not accept.
Yeah.
And if you could call in, let us know, that's acceptable.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have some travel here coming up, but I will absolutely, unless I'm on a plane, I will
I
participate.
think that'll be helpful having that, I agree, in Outlook on your calendar.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Item B, update on grant opportunities. And the first item, which was in the minutes from last meeting, status of the BLM grant mentioned for $550,000. And Fire Chief, you,
Yeah, long story short, we did not get the grant due to the distance we were away from BLM land. It was a stretch that we put in for it in the first place. because there's not really that much BLM around the village of Angel Fire. So we did not get that grant.
Item number 2, grant-wise, Community Wildfire Defense Grant, and there was a workshop this last week. Can you update us on the status of that grant opportunity?
Yes, absolutely. So today, actually, or yesterday, they opened it up to, for applications. Julie and I, who is our grant writer here within the village, attended the workshop in Seneca. We did get a lot of beneficial feedback on kind of who was awarded the grants, why were they awarded the grants, who wasn't awarded the grants, why weren't they awarded the grants. And basically, there's a couple of questions that were asked that were kind of like light bulb moments of, oh, that's why we didn't get it. And so we are working on how to like reword it a little bit to make it to where it would give us a little bit more points on the scale to hopefully be awarded the CWDG grant. Another side note to that, I have spoken with Rick Smith from the Cimarron Watershed Alliance. He is still planning to apply on behalf of us. The other application that we're working on is possible radio towers. We're trying to get some additional funding for.
So there's in that document, I think I sent to everyone, if not, I can follow it up, a link that actually goes to that RFP and the rules and requirements and all that, right? Everybody get that? No? And it has a 90-day window to clarify, and we've all been talking about this, that Rick Smith and the Cimarron Watershed will take a lead. Is there a date, I mean, other than the submission date, that Cimarron Watershed Alliance needs to provide their input or proposal to Angel Fire to at least get our, looks good?
So I'm working directly with Rick Smith, and so is Julie. One of the things we're trying to do is set up a meeting for next week. Basically, just he wants to pick our brain, we want to pick his brain, and then after next week, it'll probably be. And one of the reasons I'm using Rick Smith is he got awarded such a large amount last year, and I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. And so we'll be using a lot of the same verbiage that he utilized, and so it won't be that hard of an application process as far as that's concerned.
An item that was open when we discussed this in earlier meetings, and it applied to Cimarron Watershed, which is Colfax County, and whether or not, in their case, there was a match, no match provision based on income or based on, I guess, community, conditions. I don't know exactly all of it. And that was sort of an open item. Would that also be applied the same way for this grant?
There will still be a match with the grant. We will still try to apply for the waiver of the match. But there's also other ways that we can approach the match. We do have a full-time wildland department that's working slash. We have the slash fees that would immediately go towards the match. The manpower to get that we're dealing would kind of go towards the match as well. And so that's kind of, if we don't qualify for the waiver, we at least have a lot of match already in place.
And that's 25%?
It depends on how it's worded, but I believe 20%.
20.
Excuse me. So the resort hosted the CWA meeting last week. And so there was some discussion related to all of this. My understanding is that the qualification for the waiver has changed a bit. Rick is still trying to get his arms around that. My understanding of the way it was previously is that because we are simply in Colfax County being one of the poorer counties in the state, not an issue. That apparently they have tightened that up, and Angel Fire, the community as a whole, the resort, the community, we may have to partner with perhaps Cimarron, some other further out communities in order to then qualify for the waiver.
And that is
And I think that's where he's headed with it.
That is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
I had the same conversation, and that same information was basically why we didn't qualify for the grant last year,
Right.
unbeknownst to us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I just want to echo what's been said,
Mhm.
that I think Rick and his group, as you noted, been very successful in the past.
Yes.
So I'd like to see him continue to take the lead.
Yes.
And we all just whatever we can do to support him.
I usually call him once a week, and I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, what do you need from me, Rick?
Yeah. Same. So good. Sounds good. Yeah. Anything we can do to support him, because they seem to know and have beyond Rick. They have several individuals there. Bought him lunch after the meeting, and they're talking way over my head on a lot of this stuff. They seem to know exactly what needs
And
to
they
go
know the
into
ins
that.
and outs.
Yeah.
Way better than I care to even understand.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, we're lucky to have them.
Yes,
And so,
absolutely.
okay.
Well, to further that discussion into whether we need to take action on it now, but I think for the minutes, I would like to know, I mean, certainly the city council, the village council mayor are the ultimate decision makers. We understand that. But what role, if any, should this committee, as advisors, play on whatever that proposal is? We review it, make comments, recommendations, and then it goes to the council.
So you will be doing none.
Okay. Yeah, and something to anticipate whenever they come.
As far as the proposal is concerned, it's already in the works. Like I said, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
The overall plan, if we get awarded money, will be to look at the CWPP. And that's where you will have
There'll
advisors.
be two phases of input.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
And so that's where we'll kind of hey, I need some help with how to implement this
The
all.
proposal and then those guidelines, that'll be very, black and white.
Correct.
If we get, assuming we get approved, then how to allocate that would be an element of our advice and recommendation.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, good. Something to anticipate. Okay. Other grant opportunities, anything since the last meeting?
There are a couple of other different grants that the fire department is looking at applying for. Some of them will be more geared towards apparatus that we need, fire trucks, and the radio tower. So those are two that we're working on actively. Other than that, none at this time.
Okay, going to item number C. Angel Fire approved defensible space ordinance, and I apologize if I didn't get the words exactly right. The official name is fuel modification.
That's correct.
So I know that, and there's a copy of a Word document that Martha created. It's attached here in the handout material. So I guess that's a question, in moving ahead on either changing, modifying, the fuel modification.
So, and this was kind of one of the things
You're fine.
that I had brought up in the first place was, I believe this needs to be clarified. I believe there needs to be a rewrite. And so, what I would challenge each of you, if you're willing to, read through the document, submit any recommended changes to me, so we can talk about them next meeting.
Okay.
I would love to just go through this document and a little bit more in detail when it's like a main item. And so maybe next meeting, we have this as a main item.
So question,
Yes.
so the fuel modification ordinance that's on the books
Yes.
currently from, I believe, 2010.
Yes,
And then the most recent revision that at least was its own draft is 2019. Do I have that correct?
So the one I have in here, in the, code currently, 97-13.
Yep.
Was from 2019.
Is,
The effective date of 2019 is kind of how it's worded. I don't know.
Okay. so whatever the current version that is on the books, do we have a red line copy of the current changes that are being considered, or are we not that far along?
We're not that far. This
Okay.
would be step one. So you submit those changes to me.
So there is no draft beyond what's on the books now?
Correct.
Got it,
Correct.
okay.
Yep.
And this that you see, the only thing that I did to it was just try to clarify the format. It had a lot
Sure.
of weird semicolons in places and it wasn't right. It didn't look good.
Understood.
Oh, so I see that. So then this would be draft one then.
So this is draft one.
Okay, but it
It's
doesn't have
this
any subs.
format. There's no
Yes.
substance.
Got it.
Substitute.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is the requirement on new construction of fuel removal, I believe it's 25 feet?
Mhm.
Is that building code enforcement or your enforcement? I
Um,
don't see it in here, I just glanced through here.
So-
When Burrow was here,
Mhm.
that was one of his inspections. I built 7 homes here.
Mhm.
And it was a good thing that he came out, because some people like to put trees on their decks and build around them and have a
Yeah.
pine tree on their deck.
And that's
And we
what
know
we
now, we now know that's not good.
correct.
Burrow used to come out and he'd walk the property with you, make sure you had that setback.
And who's Borough? I'm sorry.
He was our building inspector
Okay,
before your time.
okay.
And he, as far as I know, nobody's inspecting it now.
No, they took that position away in the past administration.
So even the
Code inspector,
code inspector's not doing that probably.
I don't think so.
So that's
We
been
would have to
slipping,
clarify
So that,
yeah, that's slipping through the
Wow.
cracks right now. So
We need
we,
to
Wow.
clarify that.
Burrow's been
yes, we can't
gone
have that.
That's bad.
Oh, 6 years.
5 or 6, yeah.
No, we've been without for 6 years.
So
Yeah.
that,
They took the
that's a good
position.
one, because
And actually, Brett, do you remember that? Like any of
Yeah,
why?
it
Because
was,
you were here.
Burl
Smith,
Smith
Okay.
left, about 18 months before I did. But
But
after
why
he
did they
left,
take it off of the books? They did away with that position. Do you know why?
why wouldn't it stay with planning and zoning is my point.
yeah,
well, they didn't, it wasn't actually, it was still budgeted. So I'm not sure when it was eliminated as far as the budget goes. I just know Burl left. And then after that, there was, we had a code enforcement officer who tried to fill in where they could for Burl. I can't remember his name. He was a young guy. He was a National Guard guy. He was in the National Guard.
Yeah,
his dad
that
was the
position
police
was
officer.
taken off of the budget the next year.
yeah,
Yeah, and we've never put it back on. There's never
and we
been the
really
money.
need to get it back on.
Well, and if you look at the number of permits in the last 5 or 6 years,
A building.
and if they're not, because that was a good thing. That was a good thing to
was.
have. That was a recommendation from, I believe, the US Forest, or maybe the fire chief at the time.
Mhm.
I believe the requirement was no overhanging limbs within 25 feet of any structure on your property.
So according to this ordinance, it's still, new structures still have to comply with this ordinance.
Okay,
It is spelled out pretty clearly in there,
okay.
new structure. But it still has the same zones as far as 0 to 10, 10 to 60,
Okay,
as far as that's concerned.
right.
But I'd be more than happy to look at that as well.
So going forward, since it doesn't look like we'll have a building department anytime soon again, someone needs to decide, the city council obviously, who's going to enforce that, because it has been slipping through the cracks for 6 years.
I thought that there was a position going forward for this fire.
We have a fire inspector doing business fire inspections and Airbnb fire inspections, which is a little bit different than a building inspection. But kind of like looking at this moving forward, it may be something that he does while he's going around doing business inspections.
So in the past, we had previous fire chiefs that were willing to go out, and I think you're already doing this. meeting with property owners, and coaching them up,
Mhm.
instruction type thing. Maybe at most an hour to say, that's good, that's bad.
Mhm.
Move that wood off your deck, type of thing.
We were working out the procedural aspect for that. Wildland will be coming out, the
Okay,
Wildland team will be coming out to do that. But we want it to be a very simple form for people to read. Our current form's a little convoluted and hard to understand. And so we are just reworking that to make it make sense for the homeowner when we go out there.
One of the things as input, I know I'll be providing, and it's more of a clarification. And if anyone drives through the quote condo, townhouse neighborhoods up along the ski resort, not a whole lot of compliance because those trees have been there a long time, right up against the structures. And that's sort of the question is, should there be, two codes, if you will, that apply to multifamily as opposed to, single family? I don't know.
I can tell you, Rogers told me one day, I said, why are all these up here like this? And he said, well, fire department at that time said, we'll watch it burn. We're not going up in it. It's that clustered. It's that.
Well, so I'm a golfer and I love telling this story to guys that just show up here. But I can show you trees on a golf course. They were 10 foot tall when I started golfing here. And now they're 120 feet and full.
Mhm.
Same thing in the condos. When they built those condos, some of those trees,
We're
but
tiny, tiny.
when now we're a mature forest.
Mhm.
So, but the other caveat, and maybe nobody in the room here, but I have direct knowledge of people that insurance companies have canceled them
Mhm.
because they had trees near their deck.
Yes.
And this was before last year, the Hermit and Calf Canyon. And I'm sure that's gonna continue. So that forces people to clean up their act when your insurance
It could
company.
have to be some major surgery to comply with this code the way it exists.
Right.
And people, I don't like that. That's your input.
No, I appreciate all input, and so if you want to submit something to Martha, if that's okay, and then Martha will get me
Okay.
a
To
document,
clarify that, it comes to Martha first.
and then Martha, yeah. I think that would be the
Of
easiest
all-
way
yeah.
of all the changes recommended, then we can have a longer discussion about that next meeting.
Just send it to me.
So if any non-member
Thank you,
wants
Martha.
to
I like
give
it.
ideas to us as members, we'll accept it too.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
I'm open for
Well, you
feedback.
know, there are two groups. There's the property with homes on it, and then the property without homes.
Correct.
So
That's a third
it needs
distinction,
to be
right?
Mhm.
geared so it each thing is applied to.
And they are pretty spelled out already in there. It's existing, new structure, and then vacant lots. It's already in the ordinance. There's, like, when I read it, there's just some stuff that I would like to see changed in it
Clarifying.
and clarified, yes.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. Item D, discuss town hall and wildfire programs and status. And to embellish that is discussion last meeting. The discussion was, what if we can have that type of a meeting before the masses leave for the season? And because of the music venue fire, that structure wasn't available. Another item was thrown out as, well, okay, what about Saturday, September 2nd, when that's over? And
So
the fire
that,
chief said, maybe that won't work.
yeah, so that's Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are still gonna be on vacation,
That's fair.
gone. So that's why that date was tabled.
So I guess the question then, as an alternative, September-ish timeframe,
Mhm.
and this is a discussion item, is will some of these ordinances be finalized by that sometime in that timeframe so that we can fairly and adequately communicate those ordinances? I mean, at least for the people that are here.
So,
Well, to anyone, I mean, we
Yeah.
can send something
Any-
out.
Yeah, you can send it, you can publish it.
Right.
Yeah, and publish, one page or something that catches them, and then they can link on to something. Because nobody's gonna come and say,
So,
Nobody.
so that's a recommendation, I guess I'm making a recommendation that we try to pick a date in September before everyone leaves. Go ahead.
So, not, the ordinance as it's written, I've heard this multiple meetings, it's probably unenforceable. And I don't know if a future ordinance, how enforceable. I mean, I'll give you a good example. If I went to a court of law right now, if you cited me, because my property was not enforceable, I could bring evidence between the biggest property owners in the village that they're not doing their job. And I'm not picking on the resort because their job is impossible anyway to begin with. But the second biggest property owner is the village. And our right of ways are overgrown.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen a program where we clear right of ways. And we should start doing it.
Mm.
If we learned anything at the Calf Canyon and Hermit's Peak Fire, you need places to escape. You've got to have a way to get out. But let me go one step further here. Rather than getting people to come to a meeting to talk about an ordinance that the council hasn't even considered yet, and we'll take them a first reading, a second reading, and discussions and changes. Education is the number one thing we can do.
So I am glad you said that, Ray.
Okay,
I love education. I would rather educate someone than cite someone every day of the week. I would rather sit there, take the time and educate someone than write them a $50 citation or whatever, just throwing out an arbitrary number.
so would it be better to have with pictures, good lots, bad lots, burned lots, houses with structures in danger, no defensible space, houses that pass with flying colors? I think it's impossible to try to take
Pictures.
pictures,
That's it.
like the big,
People don't read it.
do you see what I'm getting at? That's the way to educate people.
Mhm.
Because to tell somebody, I have a neighbor that has a pine tree, it's beautiful, growing right on his deck, and I keep telling him.
There was also a comment about
I just want to say, Ray, that already exists. And there is a organization here in the state of New Mexico that provides that material for free. I actually have two boxes full of that material in my garage right now. I'm happy to give you guys.
So we've been passing out like candy. It's Living with Fire.
Okay,
Ready,
so you
set,
got the same
go.
thing.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I did want to say that recently, speaking to the municipal league, even though we've been practicing first and second readings for ordinance changes, legally, we don't have to do that. We can just do a proposal to council, and then after they've heard it during one meeting, we'll have a public hearing, just that one reading. Next meeting.
I like that. One of the reasons for that verbiage, town hall, which I believe also should be generalized as communication, is it's in the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. They put that in there. And, you know, eventually that was our goal, is to address all the items in that plan. How you do it is more up to us.
And I would rather do a town hall that's geared towards educational purposes than, here's the ordinance, you need to follow it. I would rather be like,
Okay.
let's clear these lots, here's what a good lot looks like, use pictures, get people into the town hall so where we can constant information, passing out information, small presentations.
And going back to the material, you have some, Brett has some, I have some. The origin of that is a state funded, it's called the Watershed Coalition out of Santa Fe. They're funded by the federal government Forest Service. They've got other materials they can make available to us. And I wasn't moving ahead with any of that until we had a date for doing some of these things. And I agree that it would make sense if we're gonna have any kind of a communication or series of them, we need to be based on this revised ordinance. Not
Yes,
that we're gonna find you, but at least let them know this is.
it needs to be a package because people do respond to education, yes,
Mhm.
I'm an educator, but an ordinance backing it up,
Correct. And
really, people respond
They will dig their
to
heels
money.
in.
so I don't know if September's a reasonable time frame, then, to be honest.
Oh, that's what I'm asking the input. I need to do.
I don't think so. And so maybe we look at doing it early spring and we have constant conversations about this. That way, we're not trying to rush it.
And clearly,
Yes.
with that timeframe, we'll know if we've been granted the money. And that takes on a whole nother series of discussion items Who wants their lots thinned and not?
Oh, as far as the CWDG
Yeah,
is concerned,
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
absolutely. And
Plus,
then we,
it'll give people plenty of time in the spring to plan to be here.
correct, exactly. Versus like, oh, there's a town hall next month. Huh?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
But, okay, let me just go ahead.
One other recommendation I'd like to make, and when there was kind of a town hall for Taos Pines subdivision, they did it at the fire station, the county fire station, on this very topic. And they brought in state forestry, who had some, it was really amazing. Were you there?
I was there.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah,
So
You should get those guys here to do that for the village.
we're working on them to do it for us, the fire adaptive
Okay.
committee, and then we can present that at a town hall. Because too many people,
Yeah.
that, I don't think the sim table would work very much. Too many people would make it convoluted. I think it would be perfect for a fire.
I mean, it's
adaptive.
eye-opening though.
It is eye-opening,
But that
and
would
that's
also-
why I like kind of utilize that for a town hall
Yeah.
type of thing.
But that would also serve as how we're at least partially going to decide on priorities, the simulation program.
Mhm.
What areas of the community are at most risk and so forth. Let me follow up there. Another item, did you have?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna reiterate that the resorts agreed to offer up some land for that.
Okay, perfect.
We did under the previous administration, and happy to do that,
Okay.
to find some spots. And I know that part of that is burning at various times of the year,
Mhm.
to kind of show what it looks like.
Yes,
So that's just, and so if that needs to occur here fairly quickly for
Okay.
sort of the first, what it looks like when it's, high fire season, just, we need to communicate quickly
okay,
to identify some areas, but
perfect.
again, we'll do that.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Related to communication, that's what we're talking about. One of the question marks was, okay, how do you notify, residents, lot owners, so forth. And the question that came up in the last meeting, and Mark, you weren't there, so you didn't have a chance to offer your input, was can we, based on what we think needs to be disseminated, up to and including any kind of a meeting, can the resort, because you have lists, I guess email, you get them AFPO,
Right.
come from you guys. Can that be a source for us, to use? That's source one. Source two would be the village that has utility bill information. So just throw those two, you want to go first?
Yeah, no, I think that, I can't, it's a little bit above my pay grade to say, yeah, we can use our database to do that. But I certainly wouldn't see a reason why not. It's not a marketing type
You'll be
communication.
sending them, not
It's-
us, yeah.
Say it again.
Or the resort would be sending it on behalf of us, just like you do for AFPO. Is that-
Yeah, and I'm not, I think we're past where we send on behalf of AFPO. I think they've got their own
I didn't.
database at this point, but nevertheless, like I was saying, it's not a marketing type communication, so I don't see that there's any restrictions on us sending something out that is, concerns the property owner's property. I think that's a reasonable use, and again, I don't get to make that decision, but the recommendation would certainly
That'll be
be
an
that
action
we
item
do
for the
it.
next meeting.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and
And again, I asked AFPO, maybe I wasn't talking to the right person, but they said, oh, no, we don't send out those emails like for the voting and directors and all that stuff. That comes on our behalf from the resort. So that's all I
Yeah,
was
it
talking.
actually comes from the election company
Okay.
that they hire, but in any event,
Okay, good.
touchy subject.
That's clarity.
yeah.
And utility bills, probably 50 to 60 people now pay online. And it's very well known that people don't read.
Well, I guess what I was thinking
Or
of
there
is
might
just,
not even be in here, but it can be done, absolutely.
I don't know what,
But it's like
you have
people don't-
addresses, names and addresses, I would assume. On some
Do what?
Excel, you have names and addresses of who those utility bills go to.
some
Sure
are
we do.
online.
But they pay online. I pay online. I don't ever get a bill. I pay
They don't
online.
go to.
I know that, but mean,
So
I
could we
would
get
have
an-
thought there would be
Could
a
we get
list.
property owners' email addresses so that we
No.
can,
No, not, we can't,
Legally,
CAM
they
law says we
can't
can't
give
give you email addresses
So,
without their written permission. But we can still, we can post it, we can run it, I mean, we
Okay.
can do.
okay, I mean, that was the question.
It's hard to get any kind of communication out, but we do get it done. You know, there's,
I was assuming,
Yeah.
who cares if we duplicate it, as long as more
No,
people get the notice.
we can post and put out and do as much as we
Okay.
can. Yeah, you can put it on there for sure, but you never know if they're gonna read it. You know, but yeah, I would say it should go on.
Okay. Okay, the next, or the last item in old business is wildfire protection fees, of which we discussed that, a copy is attached. And again, it goes back to the communication element. I don't know how people were or would be planned to be notified of those fees. And that was sort of the open item. Communication of that fee structure that's on the last page of this document, page 13.
Council,
Voted on.
yeah, that's already been voted on, hadn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's done deal.
But
That
how would they know, the question that came up at the last meeting is, okay, how were residents that pay these fees notified of this change?
When they
get
received
their
their bill.
When they receive the bill, yeah.
That's,
So,
But I
that's the
think,
way it is.
Yeah.
I think the question
It's also
was,
posted on the
that-
website under the fire
Yeah,
department too.
it's
I
on the
think that the
website.
thing is, people want to know how they're being spent.
so
that's the question.
That's the
there.
question,
Well, that
not what they are.
Guy
You can
Wood
see
came
what
in
they
and
are.
made that recommendation, is that somebody maybe should tell us what's the purpose and how is that money being spent? We know what we're being billed, but how is it being spent? Is that the question?
Well, the
So-
budgets are, yeah.
Yeah. primarily what the focus on this was, one, there wasn't an increase in over 10 years on any of these fees whatsoever. Two, the fire department taking over Slash is a brand new process. And so a lot of the increase in it is to, one, maintenance all the old stuff, old equipment that we have. Two is to get new equipment to replace the old equipment that we have. And three is for the amount of manpower and hours that it's taking for the Slash.
Got it.
We utilize, so those are the three big ones where the money's going. One of the things that we are starting to work on is the, having someone come out and check your property. That will all be associated with those fees.
Inspection side.
Inspection side for defensible space and all that. And so that's where the money's going.
that might be a nice explanation to publish in the village, on the village website.
It's on the YouTube
It's
channel
on-
and he explains.
that
it
is
to
already on it?
council.
Okay,
It's already on there.
It's in the
Perfect.
minutes and everything.
thank you.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I agree.
What is the Slash program now? Are you back like it used to be when a person could put it on the curb? And
We are-
you will bring a truck around?
We are picking up and we're also accepting drop off as well. Both.
Okay.
Follow up, sort of an open item. Kit Carson had problems getting the equipment to chip a bunch of stuff that we have already sitting here. Has that sort of been resolved?
No. We're working on DOT clearance to get the chipper here.
Okay.
They're working on the DOT clearance. With both, there are two of our three accesses here, or two of our four accesses, depending on how you look at it. Kind of limited with how wide you can do it. And the DOT wouldn't sign off of it right away. And they didn't want to pay the extra manpower for the
Assuming you
two.
couldn't come down to 64 from Colorado, that was one restriction, but where else would they get it?
So they're working on alternatives, renting in equipment from Colorado and then bringing it down through Cimarron.
Got it. Okay, as we voted on the first, I guess, discussion regarding meeting attendance, and I just thought we need to make that a little clearer. And I make this, I guess, recommendation, proposal, whatever you're gonna call it, as a possibility. I certainly know that the mayor, has the approval of members, but as I was saying before, missing 3 meetings in a row when you could call in, not attending, puts a burden on the committee as a whole of being able to conduct business sufficiently. And, or you could say, okay, we'll notify you in advance, give you a warning, but if you can't make 3 meetings in a row without notification, should you be on the committee? That would be a decision the mayor would have to make, but I wanted to throw it out as a discussion to this committee. It does affect us. You can extend that to say, if you can't make 6 out of 12 meetings, over a 12-month rolling average, why are you on this committee? You're not providing any value. So that was my item I wanted to make.
Keith, do we have any current rules as far as committee membership and attendance? Do you know?
I believe we do.
Yeah. So
I'll have to find them, but.
I think what we could do is we can
Agenda
bring
item?
it, yeah,
Okay.
and we can bring it next week. That way there's a clear expectation for everyone as far as attendance. If he already knows the rules, then we can talk about it.
Any new members, I mean, we haven't had this issue to have to deal with, but it is an issue. Okay. Okay, that would be the agenda items that were approved and recommended.
So we have about 4 minutes. Anyone else have anything that they would like to bring up? Concerns?
Quickly, I apologize for my appearance, but I'm thinning a lot. And I decided it looked better if I came, this is what you look like when you thin.
You're way cleaner than my guys.
Where's all the sawdust?
I shook it off. I didn't want to get see all dirty down here. So I have a suggestion about meeting times and the chief, just a suggestion. I would like 3 to 4 p.m. The day's done for if you're out hiking, if you're working on your property, but 3 to 4. But the committee can discuss that.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier the right of way. The right of way. I think this committee needs to look at making sure and recommending to the council that a priority for some of our egress and exit points are maintained and cleared from. Give you an example, the property I'm living now, when Richard Corder became the snowplow one year after a snowstorm, the aspens created a tunnel on the property because the right-of-way hadn't been cleared in years. And the next spring, I didn't even ask for it. He came up with this and cut the trees and brought the stump. I didn't even know he had a stump grinder and cleared all that out because he wasn't able to maintain the road just to plow the snow.
So I would
imagine the fire.
Talking about the roadways.
I'm sorry. Yes, the road, the city easement from property line to property line. As we've overgrown, that is overgrown also. So some of these grants, I'm sure you're looking at. And in previous chiefs, what they were starting up like Cimarron Trail, some of the main thoroughfares, and they were cleaned up. That's just another point. We're always talking
Yeah.
property owners, but we do have the city.
If
How's it
they
going?
would go down Cimarron Trail, I've been watching the trees.
Yeah.
You get a good wind, it's going
Well,
down.
To embellish that comment, on the Wildfire Protection Plan, that was on the plan, so that can be a part of the grant.
Right, so that's just for the chief. When you guys get caught up picking up slash, give you guys something to do. Years ago, when the slash program started, I want to be very brief here. This is something to think about. They applied for a grant for a power plant to put out at the solid waste to use those chips, a conveyor belt
Oh, I
system,
remember that.
and they were gonna run the plant out there off of a mini power plant. We didn't get the grant. Marvin Sheriff was our manager, I believe, city manager. But it's something that now with the solar stuff out there and everything, it's something to think about.
Yeah.
If we're gonna burn, if we can turn the turbine, it's a win-win. This, just for your information. And then I think this committee, I don't know how many of you have been south to see and I'm sure the chief has, the Calf Canyon area. But we have a good friend, Chris Stewart, who's the golf pro at Pandaray Village. And we went down to see him last summer. And that will make this committee take things a little more serious if you go down there and
Yeah, it's scary.
look at the destruction down there.
I think taking videos of those for a future meeting or communication.
That's a great idea for the town hall meeting.
Yeah, for the town hall meeting, you would.
I got a call, so sorry, but please send me the agenda for the next meeting. Okay, sounds good, thanks.
And then one final point. I think, I know that Andy, the fire chief, many years ago, got a grant to thin a private property on Cimarron, where Cimarron and Lakeview, or Montegreen Lakeview, right on that corner. And they did a wonderful job showing homeowners. And so you could, without showing property like residents, you could look at lots, pictures of, and give addresses of what we'd like to see and addresses of properties that we'd like to see improvement. Because that visual, you can read this ordinance and all the raking and pine needles, but if you see a picture side by side, I can take you up in the Aspens on Brazos, and there's two lots side by side. One's been thinned, chipped on site,
Right.
and one next door.
I think that'd be great if you had two fairly,
Right
similar environments tree-wise.
That's
One
just
business.
adds to your education,
No, I appreciate that.
because the visual is so important.
And we do have that lot, which was on Via Del Rey. I can look up the address, that we can give to the public to go look at. This was done by the fire department to their standard.
Sir?
I'd also like to recommend that you go down to Guadalupita or the Mora area and take pictures of because there are a few ranches that were thinned properly and they have black marks about, 3 foot up the tree. If fire burned through, all their trees are still alive, and literally right next door were unattended properties that are now, nothing's growing there. It's dead soil because the fire got so hot.
Don't we have an ordinance in the village about dead down and thin?
Yeah, that's what we're
Yes, that's
talking
what
about.
we're talking
Okay, I
about.
came in late, I'm
I can give you
sorry.
a copy of it.
I'd like to see it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
That's it.
I think that's it. Until the next meeting, we'll send those minutes out, timing wise.
Oh, yeah, I'll get them to you, okay?
Meeting has been.
Meeting has been
I
adjourned.
love it. It's all recorded.